What if I told you that the most dominant dynasty in NBA history had a fracture nobody talked about? That behind the 6 titles, the iconic jumpers, and the fierce leadership of Michael Jordan, there was a silent friction simmering just beneath the surface? What if I told you that one of the Bulls' starting 5, a man who was literally in the middle of it all, was completely erased from the most celebrated documentary in basketball history? Luc Longley was there. Every night, every series, every title from 1996 to 1998. And yet, when The Last Dance aired, his name wasn't mentioned once. The odd dynamic between Michael Jordan and Luc Longley was a tale of trust, tension, culture clash, and respect eventually earned in the shadows.
To begin with, I think Michael was doing what he did to rookies, what he was doing to me.
Spins, nice drop step by Luc.
That's why when I throw it to you.
He matters to me.
Once we found that respect, then it was easy to get along.
If you asked me to do it all over again, there's no way I would leave Luc Longley off my team. No way possible.
Michael Jordan was raised in the fires of North Carolina basketball. He came from a system built on competition, confrontation, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Every drill was a battle. Every scrimmage was a war. Luc Longley, he came from Fremantle, Western Australia. His sporting upbringing was collaborative, team first, and deeply rooted in Australian sporting values of mateship, humility, and shared responsibility. These weren't just differences in personality, they were differences in philosophy. When Longley arrived in Chicago via trade in 1994, Jordan wasn't even there. He was off chasing baseball dreams in Birmingham. The Bulls were in transition, post-title era, pre-reload, so Luc came into a system still finding itself. Quietly, he worked, adjusted, learned the system. He wasn't dominant, but he fit. Then Jordan came back and everything changed. As you can imagine, this relationship ran deep, and we've talked about this before in this video right here. But Jordan's leadership was intense. We've all heard the stories. Punching Steve Kerr, roasting Scott Burrell daily, confronting teammates who weren't performing. He led by pressure, applying it constantly. Longley didn't respond to that, as he explained years later by saying, "I think Mike was doing what he did to rookies, what he was doing to me."
To begin with, I think Michael was doing what he did to rookies, what he was doing to me. It was just testing me, seeing where my boundaries were, seeing what buttons he could push, how he could drive me, and I probably saw through that a bit and didn't want to take the bait or whatever, so we had a few clashes.
He didn't yell back, he didn't fight, he didn't crack under the pressure. And that, ironically, frustrated Jordan more. Jordan respected conflict. He wanted you to bark back. That was the fire he trusted. That was the intensity he believed separated champions from passengers. But Longley wasn't built that way. Despite the personality differences, Luc Longley was exactly what the Bulls needed on the court. In a team stacked with superstars, they needed glue. Someone to anchor the paint, pass out of the post, defend without fouling, and create space for Jordan and Pippen to operate. Longley delivered. In the 95-96 season, when the Bulls won a then record 72 games, Longley started 64 of them. And in the playoffs, he was the starting center for every single game in their 97 and 98 championship runs. That's 39 straight playoff starts in the biggest games of Jordan's career. He wasn't flashy, but he was reliable. He knew that I did the little things he needed to get the job done, Longley would later say.
He knew that I did the little things he needed to get his job done. So at the end of the day, it was a respect thing, and once you find that respect, once we found that respect, then it was easy to get along.
That little things mentality is what championship teams are built on, and Luc was the guy doing them every single night. The tension between Jordan and Longley didn't magically disappear. There wasn't a big team meeting, no emotional breakthrough, no warm hugs. But what developed quietly was mutual respect. Jordan saw that Luc showed up every game, every practice. He wasn't vocal, but he was present and committed. Luc, in turn, began to understand that Jordan's aggression wasn't personal, it was strategic. He pushed teammates not because he hated them, but because he demanded they reach their full potential, even if the methods were questionable. Eventually, they made it work. Their chemistry wasn't about love or friendship, it was about trust on the court. And in professional sports, especially at the championship level, that's often all you need. which makes it all that more bizarre that when The Last Dance aired in 2020, Luc Longley wasn't included. Not a quote, not a clip, not a mention. This wasn't just a role player, this was the starting center of 3 straight championship teams. He started more games during the second three-peat than Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr or Ron Harper. So why was he excluded? There's no definitive answer. Some say it was a production oversight. Others point to logistics. Luke was living in remote Western Australia at the time, and filming was limited. But the absence still stung. Longley admitted as much in interviews, saying, "I was bummed about it. I felt left out." Jordan later acknowledged the omission, saying he regretted it, and he even appeared in a 2021 ESPN Australia documentary about Luc Longley to make amends.
Sure, I mean, there's some good and there's some bad, but that's all a part of life. You know, you're going to have friends that you have good and bad things about, you know, but we went through the trenches. We shared a lot, you know, we competed together and you know, I would take him any day of the week if I had to go through a competition again.
It was a long overdue moment of recognition, but many fans and analysts still see it as a glaring omission, one that speaks to the deeper, unresolved tension between the two. This entire story raises a fascinating question about leadership. Was Jordan a bad teammate? It's not a simple question. On one hand, he brought out the best in people. He demanded greatness. He won. But on the other, he often crossed the line, punching teammates, publicly berating them, driving some into emotional exhaustion. Luc Longley's story is a perfect lens to explore this. He wasn't weak, he wasn't lazy, he just didn't subscribe to the break them down to build them up model that Jordan believed in so deeply. So is that a flaw of Longley, or is it a flaw in Jordan? Could MJ have adapted his leadership perhaps? Could he have been more inclusive, more aware that not all teammates respond to pressure the same way? These aren't just easy questions to answer, but they're important ones, because they remind us that winning doesn't always justify the method. Today, Jordan and Longley are reportedly in a good place. They speak on occasion, they respect each other, and both have acknowledged their differences. But even with time and perspective, it's clear that there's never been a close bond, and that's okay. Not every relationship on a team has to be deep or emotional. Some are built on shared goals, shared sacrifice, and mutual professionalism. But what makes this story compelling is that Longley wasn't bitter. He didn't try to expose Jordan. He didn't write a tell-all book. Instead, he let his game and his role in the NBA history of it speak for itself. He knew what he contributed, and now, finally, the world is beginning to acknowledge it as well. Luc Longley was the first Australian to win an NBA championship. He helped build a bridge between American basketball and a growing Aussie hoop scene that would one day produce players like Andrew Bogut, Patty Mills, Joe Ingles, and Ben Simmons. He played 271 games for the Bulls during their second three-peat, more than many players who are household names. And yet, he's one of the most overlooked champions in NBA history. Why? Maybe because he wasn't loud. Maybe because he didn't fight back. Maybe because he didn't fit the narrative. But Longley's story reminds us that not all greatness looks the same. Some players scream, others set screens. Some dominate the box score, others dominate the fundamentals. And some earn the respect not with words, but with their presence. Longley earned his rings, earned Jordan's respect, and finally earned the recognition he always deserved. Thanks everyone for watching. If this story gave you a new perspective on the Bulls dynasty, give the video a like, drop a comment and tell me what you think. Should Jordan have treated Luc Longley differently? Was Longley's omission from The Last Dance justified? And what does this story say about leadership in sports? Let's talk about it. Subscribe for more deep dive NBA breakdowns, and I'll catch you in the next one.